Hi friends, welcome back. This is a part 2 to the last video that I shared, which is about where to begin when we are setting out on the journey of body acceptance, creating maybe a safer or maybe a more healthier relationship with yourself and your body, maybe working on your self-esteem, self-belief, all of those things and all of those things that come under that umbrella. In the last video is almost like a part 1 of where to begin. Everyone's journey is different. So I just kind of want to start by saying that it's not that then this. You don't have to start there and then you do this. It's not that set kind of sequential process. This video is around creating space for stability, starting to build up a felt sense of stability. And that can be a sense of safety from within, comfort, neutrality. It is important to kind of acknowledge where you are when you're starting out on this journey, because if you don't know, if you're not aware of how you are, as I said, you can't necessarily make those changes. We can't change what we're not aware of. But sometimes actually acknowledging where you are is tough. let's just say it, like actually thinking about where the experiences that you've had, what has happened to you. I said in the last video about not going into the story, and when I work with people, we're not digging around for what happened to you, what's causing you to feel like this. It's more about, okay, this is where you're at, what do we need to do to help you move forward? And on that process, in that journey of helping you get to whoever you want to become or reconnect with, perhaps, we release, we process, we compost what has happened in the past. Hopefully that makes sense. So this is a where to begin, and as I said, it's about creating space for stability. We have to start somewhere, and starting with acknowledging something needs to change, or I'm not actually happy with the way that things are at the moment. I don't want to continue like this. So that's, kind of what I talked about in the first video. It's like, I don't really want to be this way anymore. I want a better relationship with myself. I want to feel really safe in my body. I want to be able to acknowledge emotions when they come up and not numb out or dissociate. So there's that kind of awareness around it. But most importantly, we need to create a felt sense of stability. There needs to be enough stability in our system to allow ourselves to acknowledge how we are as well. So you can kind of see how the part 1 and part 2, they're almost like it's not this and then this. They're almost on a par with each other, because we might need to bring more stability into our body before we start acknowledging and building awareness around what's going on. So yeah, it really, again, depends on you as an individual, where you're at, and what might be needed as a starting point. But stability is always important. Nervous system stability, building up the somatic awareness, understanding how to listen to your body and pay attention to the signals. That might be basic signals of hunger, thirst, needing to sleep, needing to get up and have a move because you've been sat tense and rigid for a long time. That stability allows us to check in with the discomfort rather than check out, to be able to notice what's happening in our life, in our system, and around us without judgment. So if you have a lot of self-judgment, if you talk down to yourself quite a lot, that can kind of escalate even more into judging judging the fact that we're judging ourselves. So it's, starting to acknowledge, okay, what is happening in my inner experience? I'm judging myself, and maybe it's because something doesn't feel safe in my environment. There's like what's the nervous system saying? What's the situation that's causing this inner experience of judgment? So most of the time we jump to fixing, calming, soothing ourselves, which can be useful, but it can also be a way of ignoring what's happening. The feeling comes up, oh, I have to calm myself. Oh, I need to regulate. Oh, I don't want to feel this. So I'm going to just, move around and just kind of run away from the whatever the feeling is. So if you ignore things for too long, it can make things worse in the long run. And it makes it harder to acknowledge what's happening in our system and in our inner experience. So we bring in curiosity, we start to bring in compassion, and stability is how we do that. We start to bring in some explorations of what does stability and support feel like? What's it like in my environment? What's it like in my body? What's that physical, tangible feeling of being held? And when we start to do that, it starts to speak to our nervous system. So just thinking about it doesn't really cut the mustard. It's about actually experiencing it. And that might be really hard to begin with. It might not happen straight away. It might need to be really slow baby steps. It might happen quickly. Again, it depends on the person. But this is a really helpful place to start. So if you are experiencing numbness, if you're experiencing the overwhelm of emotion, if you're feeling incredibly anxious, it's not nice being in our body. It can feel really restricting. It can feel really, what's the word? Think of, if that's your experience, what is it like for you, that feeling? It's like, for me, I just want to we want to get away from it, yeah? So it's learning to bring stability in so that when that feeling comes up, we can acknowledge it and bring stability into the system, into our body, so that we can be with that discomfort and acknowledge, what do I really need? Rather than just numbing, calming, soothing, and actually ignoring the root of what is needed, because it's a message. Your body's telling you, we need something. What is it? A few things that start to bring stability, I've already mentioned some, but orienting to your environment, as long as your environment is a comfortable, safe space. Orienting to time, to nature, to loved ones, to our pets, to something that brings a sense of maybe contentment, maybe a softening, maybe like your thoughts settle or your body settles. And I mentioned self-judgment earlier, and the emotions that come up with, when we are judging ourselves and really self-critical. And with lack of acceptance or low self-worth, it's often linked to fear, anger, shame, disgust, guilt. And these are really difficult emotions to be with. For most of us, we don't want to feel that. You know, shame is just, can feel like one of the worst feelings. And we try to manage and control these by pushing them down or ignoring them so that we don't feel the pain and the discomfort and the intensity that they bring. And it can be a complex web of feelings that we don't know what to do with. And control is, trying to control them is a coping strategy. It's a very clever way of your body trying to manage and deal with the challenge in the situation. When we are beginning out on this journey, it's not a case of, write down 20 things that you love about yourself. We don't go there. Maybe that's where you're at, and we could explore that. But we need to make sure that there's enough stability in your nervous system, in your experience, in your body, to then be able to explore and be curious about what is going on and how do we shift out of that old way of being and start to make space for a new way, a new path. Thank you so much for being here. If you have any insights, reflections, please do drop me a message below and I will answer. And thank you so much again for being here. I'm looking forward to exploring this more with you soon. Bye.